Thanks for staying with us at STL Live. I'm Raynah Rey, and my guest is director Ron Stevens, and we're learning about the documentary, Never Say Goodbye. So you just shared one of a bunch of fascinating stories with me and with us. Tell me what made you feel like, you know what, we have got to tell these stories. What happened that made you feel that way?
Well, about 2 years ago, I realized that KSHE's 50th anniversary was coming up. And I started thinking about it, how important those years were to the development of KSHE, and how I still knew all these people. We were still very close friends. And when we got together, we never talked about the good old days. We just talked about our kids and what are you doing now. But those stories were there, and I just felt a need to tell them. So I approached KSHE a little over a year ago and told them what I wanted to do. And they said, do you want us to pay for this? Or maybe they said, you want us to pay for this? And I said, no. I think there's a good story here, and with 50 years to celebrate, I can understand you not wanting to tell it. And they disagreed. They thought that young people today are very interested in it, and of course the older listeners are still there. So I started talking about it, started planning it, putting a team together, and started talking to the other old DJs about it, and realized that there was more of a story there than I thought was there. I just thought the story was we all still know each other and we're all still friends. But the real story was that none of us had any experience, and somehow we succeeded at what we did.
And we've got a sneak peek at that story. Let's take a look at that, okay. And we'll talk about it after we see this little piece. Let's take a look.
Scared.
I was scared to death.
Scared to death. Nobody had experience doing this.
Most of the announcers from KSHE didn't come from the broadcast center. They didn't come up with the radio stations. They came from high school.
Even worse, Shelley Grafman had no experience in radio. So by the early 1970s, we had an entire staff on air with no radio experience at all.
So I said, hey, I want to be on the air. And he says, you want to be on the air? I said, I want to be on the air. He says, you want to be on the air? I said, I want to be on the air. He goes, come on. And I'm walking down the hallway, and we're going to the on-air studio, and I don't know what he's doing. And we walk in and sat me down and said, you're on the air. And left.
You get the feeling nobody had any experience.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? What did you discover? Because a lot of documentarians that I talk to say that doing a piece teaches them something about themselves. What did you learn?
I think that's the point of a documentarian, to journalistically discover things and find the story in there. What I discovered that surprised me is how well all of those young kids did when they went on. Richard Palmese went on to become the president of MCA Records. Peter Mayer went on to become chief White House correspondent for CBS News, and he interviewed every president since Jimmy Carter. Joy and I went on to LA and wrote for television, and Joy now has the Fountain on Locust, which she built. Bob Birch went on to marry Michelle Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas. That was kind of weird, but it's true.
That guy, Billy Joel, who your mom opened for, he did a couple albums.
Yeah, he did a few things, didn't he?
Pretty amazing. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the album, the DVD cover here. There's a story in and of itself.
That's actually me on stage there, right across the street, an aviation field at Forest Park. We would do free concerts every now and then. Mark Close and I would produce these concerts, and because we didn't have social networking, we had no way to know how many people would show up. 80,000 kids showed up that day to see Charlie Daniels and Rush.
Wow, and Rush. And they're still around these days doing things.
Yes, true.
Wow, where can people find this DVD?
It's available at KSHE.com in the Stuff store. I think it's KSHEstuff.com. It's also available at the Fountain on Locust, because I know the owner. It's at CD Warehouse, and it's at Vintage Vinyl, and at Barnes & Noble.
Last question, what do you hope to accomplish through this video?
To share the story with as many people as possible. I'm retired. I'm just doing this for the fun of it.
Well, great fun. Great fun.
It is.
Thank you so much for being here,
you.
Ron. Never Say Goodbye traces the unlikely beginnings of the world's longest-running rock radio station, KSHE 95. For more information, visit their Facebook page at KSHE Documentary and get the DVD at KSHE SCH TUFF.com. There's more STL Live after this. Stay with us.